If you want to love who you are in 10 years, find your anti-self. Find the people you do not want to be like and do the opposite. Finding out what you want is hard, but knowing what you don't want is easy. Trying to figure out what you want from life just out of nowhere is like staring at a white page and trying to write a best-selling book from scratch. But trying to figure out what you don't want from life is a way more clear and powerful way of thinking. Like, have you ever seen someone on the street and thought, I never want to end up like that person? Or at work, you have a boss and you're like, I never want to end up like that person, man. That is a really powerful and potent way of thinking about the world, because you can essentially take all the things you don't want to have, create this anti-vision in your life, and reverse engineer everything that you have to do to basically become not that. It's a lot easier to say, I do not want to be this, than to say, I want to be this. The Samurai's Training by me. There was a young samurai who lived among the cherry blossoms in a town. He wanted to become the greatest samurai the town had ever seen so he could protect his people and restore peace to the land. The townspeople would always ask him, Lord, what do you want to become? What kind of samurai will you be? And he was a little bit taken aback by that question. He didn't know the answer. So he knew he wanted to be a great samurai, but the specifics of it were murky. And he started to question his own processes and trainings, and he started to get overwhelmed, like, what am I going to become? So he went to visit the village monk to ask him for advice. And he said, what kind of samurai do I become? I don't know how to figure that out. And the monk said, do not focus on what you want to become, but rather focus on what you want to avoid, and the steps will reveal themselves. So the young samurai went to the highest point in the village and he kneeled at the shrine and he started to reflect on his life. He remembered those who betrayed the clan in the most vulnerable times. He remembered the warriors who forgot about protecting their people in pursuit of their own greatness. And he remembered how his uncle became enraged, lost his composure, and gave the enemy a window to defeat him. And so in his meditation, the young samurai began to see exactly the kind of warrior he'd become. Loyal to his people, no matter the cost. Calm and calculated, even in the most precious situations. And a leader who sacrifices his ambitions to lift his people up and achieve collective success. And from then on, his training was so clear. He knew exactly what he didn't want to become, and so he was able to reverse engineer a program for himself and a training regime that he would do every single day to become the opposite of his anti-vision. You'll have to create the path by walking yourself. The path is not ready-made, lying there and waiting for you. So let's go through 3 steps to build your ideal self from scratch. And obviously we're going to start with questions on what you do not want to become. So the first thing you're going to do is identify negative role models or negative situations that you don't want, right? So ask yourself some questions like, who are the people that you really do not want to be like? Who are the people in your life who you just, if there's anything, I do not want to be like that, right? What are some of the regrets that you might have at the end of your life? Like, I didn't try this, or I didn't try that, or I didn't say this. And then what are the situations, like what is the lifestyle that you can envision in your future that would make you sick to your stomach? Like, is it, I do not want to be a grumpy 9-to-5 boss one day, or I do not want to be working out in manual labor every day. That's my anti-vision. So you got to think about negative situations that you want to avoid at all costs. Number 2 is to think about the warning signs or the things that you do that are actually leading you on that path. So if your anti-vision was, I don't want to end up with lung cancer on a hospital bed, are you smoking a pack of cigarettes a day? Or if you don't want to end up in a 9-to-5 office job, are you just trotting along doing that 9-to-5 office job without thinking about anything else? So think about these things that you do, and are those leading you to the life that you don't want? And step 3 is obviously just do the opposite of those things. So stop anything that you're doing that's taking you on your path to your anti-vision and start doing the opposite of that. So if you wanted to build something outside of your regular day job, are you procrastinating? Are you being lazy? Are you doing anything, or are you just expecting it to magically appear one day? If you don't want to end up dying in a hospital bed or bedridden because you didn't train your muscles, are you doing anything today to avoid that vision? So don't just think about what you don't want and that kind of thing, but think about, how can I reverse engineer everything I do to get the opposite of that? And this isn't like a one-off exercise. Something that could be useful is maybe write down your anti-vision or your anti-self or whatever you want to call it. Pin it somewhere, put it on your phone, pin it on your desk, in front of your desk. Put it on a sticky note somewhere, because you want this to be front of mind all the time. What do I not want to become? Because the universal principle of entropy is that if you leave something to its own devices, it's gonna just dissolve into chaos. You can't expect to end up at a life or to avoid a life you don't want by just the default way of your life. You have to actually take steps and reverse engineer a process to create something for yourself that you actually want. You can't just sit there and expect things to go a certain way and sit there and complain about the way things are. You have to consciously think about these anti-visions and visions that you, an ideal visions that you want, and then create a process that takes you there. And it's specific to all of us. You need to think about your own life, your own unique advantages, and think about and craft a way that you can live your life in order to end up at a place that you desire. And I think the easiest and clearest and most powerful way to do that is to think of an anti-vision, so that you give yourself some structure, rather than, like we said at the start, starting with a blank page and just you ask a little kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? I don't know, what do I want to do? And as you go through life and you keep this front of mind, you start to trim the fat. I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. Oh, this isn't so bad. Part of this is good. I don't want that part. And sort of all of a sudden you start to see this pyramid come together, and then you get to the apex eventually. And so I know that life purpose can be kind of hard to understand, and it's a big pain point for people, what's my purpose in life? So maybe try not to focus on that so much, and I find this really useful to focus on the opposite, and then you start to reverse the steps until you get to where you want. So yeah, if you found that useful, leave a like, let me know in the comments. I really like to hear from you about that. I've gotten some people disagreeing with me, so that's also good. I like to talk about it. So these are just my musings. So if you think of a counter or something to add, then just let me know. And yeah, subscribe, they're gonna come every week. So thank you.